My journey with ACE started in 1985.
Our school started in 1986.
My start goes back into 1985.
We started with ACE in 1986.
I started at the school in March of 1989.
And we've been open for 19 years now.
This is my 17th year.
I've been involved with ACE since 1987.
We started way back when in 1996.
I started out in ACE in 1989.
This is our 26th year.
I'm now in my 33rd year.
And I've been here now for 22 years.
This year actually marks 20 years of association with ACE.
I remember the first training course I went on.
None of us knew what was happening really. We had 10 paces to work through in 5 days.
Our first training was quite a big surprise because we arrived late. We got lost and immediately knew that that was not acceptable.
When Mrs. Neal came to me because I asked her to go and score my work, she actually said to me, "Sorry, you have worked over these and these and these score strips, please rub it out."
You know, we had to listen to tapes and we could hardly hear them, and we each had a little cassette on the office trying to hear what he was saying as we were working through the parent orientation pace. I feel old now.
I left the training having absolute conviction that God has spoken to me and said, "This is what I've called you for."
We were very excited about starting, so we went back to Johannesburg to the Robin Hill School and we did training in 1985.
It was one of the very first trainings in South Africa. There were just a handful of schools at that point. And we were all sitting one morning at a devotion, and the person who was leading the devotion, we were sitting, you know, in like church-like, and it was Trevor and Val and Steve and Mercy and myself and Dawn and, you know, that whole row. And he spoke, and as he spoke, he lifted his hand and he pointed over this row of people, and it wasn't intentional, it was just the way it happened. He pointed over this row of people and he said, "You will carry the vision of ACE." And to me it was absolutely profound. At the point, at that time, it didn't mean anything. But as I look back and I see what Trevor and Val have done, and what Steve and Mercy have done, and what Dawn and Gordon have done in Africa, and what I've been able to do through ACE, to me it's just been, it's wonderful, you know, to just see how God has undertaken. So it was very special.
And I can also remember Pastor Trevor and Graham coming with a car down to come and see the schools, have a meeting with us and everything out of the boot. And so ACE has grown tremendously from that time.
Uncle Trevor actually told me, "Brenda, your vision is far too small. You need something bigger." And at that point in time, we only had a house.
So when the school was opened, it was actually a step of obedience.
We were seen as this miracle school that came around.
And it was the children of the school that came and said, "Auntie Brenda, we are going to help you build the school. Can we help you?" I said in my nervous energy that I had, "Yes, please."
We were a very small church, and finances were pretty thin on the ground.
And so they put the offices together. In 3 days, we had those offices together, and we started school, and the staff had paces on each office for about 60 children at that time. And from there on, we had to go forward.
One of the ladies came up to him with an envelope and said, "I'd like to give you some money for the school." And Charles got very excited and called 3 or 4 of the leaders of the time together and said, "You know, we've got some money to start the building. let's get together this afternoon and plan the place. So we sat around the table and started talking about how we're going to plan it, and Charles opened the envelope and there was 38 Rand in there. So we thought, well, what do you do with 38 Rand? And it's hardly enough to buy the doorknob of a building. And but we said, you know what? The mustard seed is one of the smallest seeds, but it grows into a massive big tree. So we remained around the table and we started to plan, and we drew up our original main building and started to just trust God.
Again and again, God came through and just amazingly just undertook for all sorts of situations.
The Lord told my husband that he has to build the school. And we said, we'll do that, but Lord, you know, we don't have the money, we don't have the finances. The Lord said, but that's not your problem, that's mine. And we went ahead, and by 2010 we opened in this building, a year later, with it fully furnished, everything, and not own a cent.
The school in Cape Town, the first one we went to, was a small house on a semi-rural plot. So we had trees and had swings on ropes, and so it was a bit more of a jungle school than a normal school playground.
Well, one of my first day of school, we were in a tiny little Zozo hut, and us girls had to cross a little stream to get to the toilet, and our workstations were very cramped. One student couldn't get out of their chair when the other student was getting out of their chair that was behind us. It was quite a squash.
Yes, it was that little Zozo hut that our children went into. I think there were about 30 kids at the time. And they went into the school of 30, and we thought, wow, you know, this is exciting. And it didn't matter to us that the facilities were not great, but it was the curriculum.
And one of my biggest surprises was when the girls came home with their social studies papers, and the story of creation was the first thing that they were learning about. And I realized that this is not just education, this is the Word of God first, and education through that. So it was just never something that was ever in dispute. It's the way that we were going to go.